What's up everyone, it's Q from Retro Q Gaming and still riding the high of the Resident Evil 2 remake announcement. I'm just gonna ride the energy and just keep going with this one. So, what am I gonna ask in this video? Well, the title has already told you that, but you're here to listen to it anyway, and to listen to the actual details of it. So, with the announcement of a Resident Evil 2 full remake for the first time in the 17 years that the game has launched, will we eventually see, possibly sometime soon, possibly within like the next 5 or 6 years, maybe within this generation of consoles, will we see a Resident Evil 3 full will we see a Resident Evil 3 full remake, basically? That's what I'm kind of wondering. Is Resident Evil 1 received a remake and then a remaster? So basically, actually, before I get into the list, Resident Evil 3 is basically, including this Resident Evil 2 remake we've just heard about and just been confirmed about, Resident Evil 3 will be the first, or will be the only main series game, how would I describe it? It would be the only any of the two main series Resident Evil games, I'll get into that now in a second, that won't be available in like a more modern full high definition remake-ish remastered experience. It would be the only one that's not available. Now I say that as in, I'll go over the list and you'll see what I mean anyway in a second. So Resident Evil 1, okay? Resident Evil 1 has received a remake and then a remaster on top of, the remake. So it had the original game, it had a remake, and it had a remaster of the remake. Resident Evil 2 is obviously now getting the remake. Resident Evil 4, modern enough style game, still getting it still got it kind of got two HD remakes almost. There was the console variant that came out a couple of years ago when it got the HD version, and then there was the Ultimate HD version, which is the main one I was talking about, which came out on PC. Was it last year? Yeah, it was early last year, I think. Yeah, early last year. I'm 99% sure. Yeah, 2014. That was it. And even though two guys are doing a better job of that Capcom did at HDifying that, it was still a fairly modern game in its basic form, let alone with a more HDified version. Resident Evil 5, obviously still a fairly current game, came out on the 7th generation of consoles and has a pretty good PC version, which I still play on the regular to this day. I was actually playing it earlier today and last night. Resident Evil 6, enough said. It's a modern game. It's the most modern Resident Evil game in the series. Came out on 7th generation consoles, which were the only consoles available at the time, or the most modern ones available at the time. And obviously it has a relatively high-end PC version available. Because I did mention the kind of two Resident Evil series, I'm going to go with the other one, which is Resident Evil Revelations, originally a 3DS game ported to PC and other consoles. So yeah, it has a more HD version of the game, if you will. Resident Evil Revelations 2, obviously that came out on 7th and 8th generation consoles, as well as PC. So that's the most modern entry in the Resident Evil series, and it's still going to be its main thing. Just for completionist's sake of a possible list, we'll throw in Resident Evil 0, which had its original version on the GameCube, and it's receiving a remake, which we'll have next year. So that one also counts as being remade or remastered, I should say. And just for completion's sake, Resident Evil Code Veronica. Code Veronica, originally a Dreamcast game, also ported to the PS2, and I think it was ported to the GameCube. Not 100% sure, but I think it was ported to the GameCube. If you do know off the top of your head, let me know in the comment section below if that actually was ported to the GameCube. I think it was, but I'm not 100% sure. But that also received kind of a fairly poor, if you will, HD port, or HD. Yeah, it was more of a HD port than a HD remaster on the PS3 and Xbox 360 a few years ago. I'd still like a better variant of that on PC, just because it would be nice to play. It's a very good game, and I'm actually planning on playing it again sometime soon. So basically, we've gone through the entire Resident Evil, the two main Resident Evil series, basically, as well as one or two little specific offshoots as well. Specifically Zero and Code Veronica, and then Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2. So Resident Evil 3 is going to be the only the only game we can't have, or the only game we don't have in a more modernized format. Now I say a more modernized format, where I should have said this on my other video earlier actually, but when they remake Resident Evil 2, I still think they're going to go in Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 0 style. I think they're going to go with the isometric, cinematic backgrounds, photorealistic cinematic backgrounds rather than actual renders and all that shit. I think they'll go with that rather than make it a third-person shooter, because the game wouldn't survive as a third-person shooter. It would be too easy, and the game would be half an hour long. It would just be that easy. So in its current form, it wouldn't survive as a third-person shooter being ported along to that kind of thing. So I do think the remake will be true enough to its roots. But I'm getting off topic. I want to stay on Resident Evil 3 here at the moment. So because of that, will we see Resident Evil 3 down the line as a full remake? I think we probably will. Now, originally my idea, like I said in my previous video, that one of the few, there was very few games, or there was a few games I should say, that actually I thought we would never see a full remake of, Resident Evil 2 being one of them. And because Resident Evil 2 I thought would never be one of them, Resident Evil 3, which was not as critically acclaimed, not as enjoyed by the fans, and not as popular. Not saying it was a bad game, I still enjoyed it, but just compared to Resident Evil 2, it was, it was no Resident Evil 2. That's all I can say. It wasn't even Resident Evil 1, but it was no Resident Evil 2. And because of that, and the fact that back then I had assumed that we'd never see a Resident Evil 2 remake, I thought there's no way we'd ever get a Resident Evil 3 remake. Now, have I been wrong? We have a Resident Evil 2 remake announced, obviously. I've already said that in my other video and multiple times in this one. But now the fact that Resident Evil 2 remake is done, will we get a Resident Evil 3 remake down the line to complete the entire, what would you call it, the entire collection on modern-ish consoles? I think if we did see a new one, it would probably only be on Xbox One, PS4 and PC. Maybe Nintendo NX, based on when it comes out. But the fact is that now I think it's a very real possibility that we'll get a Resident Evil 3 full remake. Simply because, I mean, they have the engines and all that kind of thing. They're obviously actually starting to listen to fans when it comes to Resident Evil stuff. So we'll see how it goes. I'm curious. What do you think? That's the main thing. I'm here to ask what everyone else thinks. Do you think it's a possibility? Obviously, it wouldn't even be announced before Resident Evil 2 remake is fully released. Well, I don't think it would. I think they'd want some time off, gauge possible reactions, wait till the Resident Evil 2 remake is completed and released and people enjoy it. And then people are probably going to ask for, where's a Resident Evil 3 remake? Yeah, give us one of them. And that's when Capcom come out, bang, they hit us with the Resident Evil 3 remake announcement or questionnaire or honest and frank opinions like they did with 2. And then I think we'd probably see that. So realistically, Resident Evil 2 remake, maybe 2017, 2018. Resident Evil 3 remake announcement, maybe 2018, 2019. And Resident Evil 2 remake, 2021, 2022, possibly. They could go for 2020 because Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 3 released in the year 2000. Well, at least it did over here. I think it came out in America and Japan in 1999, but here in Europe it released in 2000. And it would make sense that they would either go for 2019 for a possible 20th anniversary, or maybe just 2022 or 2021 kind of thing, simply because it would probably take that long. At least if they were giving it the proper care and attention, I think that would be it. So, video has gone on way too long, as they tend to do, and despite my failing health, I'm still riding the high on the Resident Evil 2 announcement. So, we'll end it here. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about a possible Resident Evil 3 remake. Now, I say that because it most likely wouldn't be a long time, or wouldn't even be any time in the near future. But do you think it's possible, given how Capcom are finally listening and finally starting to do something about it? So, do you think it is possible that we could ever see one, or do you think it's completely outlandish that we'll ever see it? Let me know all your thoughts about that in the comment section below. Anyway, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You can follow me on Twitter. Details in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the rest of the videos in my channel.